Welcome back, everybody, at long last to the Triple Doink podcast. It's been just over a month since we last did this because it's the NFL offseason and just
We're
nothing is
off.
happening whatsoever.
Yeah, we're off
Uh
this season.
huh. Anyway, my name is Ryan, and I am joined by the Bucky Barnes to my Steve Rogers, my friend Bryce. How are you?
Another reference I do not understand.
Oh, that's too bad.
What
I
what
am.
what is that from?
Steve Rogers is Captain America.
Oh.
Bucky
Oh.
Barnes is the Winter Soldier.
Oh.
Um,
Yeah, I've seen the movies. They're roller coaster rides to me, but nothing else.
yeah, back when Avengers Endgame came out, which was like in June, I think, some of my friends finally convinced me to start watching all the MCU movies, and so now I finally did, and I'm caught up. uh,
All of them?
all of them.
Really?
Yep, all 22 and now 23 with Spider-Man: Far From Home. So yeah, I finally am caught up on all of that, which is it's kind of cool. I actually enjoyed it quite a bit.
I think the movies are great to watch and be like, "Holy shit, this is a fun-ass ride." And then that's about it.
Yeah,
I can't really take them as anything else. The movie that I recently saw, actually, because I want to talk about this, because I really like this movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
mm-hmm. I've not seen it.
Oh, the ending is really funny.
Okay.
It's so good. All you have to know is the plot, if you haven't heard, is Brad Pitt is Leonardo DiCaprio's stunt double.
Yeah.
And
I think I saw the trailer for it actually when I went to see Far From Home. But yeah.
the entire it's weird. It's a modern setting, but the pacing and the narrative structure of the whole entire movie is of a Western, if that makes sense.
Okay.
It's like if a Western was in a more modernish setting. I say more modernish because it takes place in the 60s, but...
Right. Well, anyway, enough movie talk, I guess. Oh, the one other thing I will say about the MCU is the timing kind of worked out for me because right when Endgame came out and there was all the hype around it, it was the same time that Game of Thrones ended. So
Yeah.
I had an opening to pick up something new to watch.
I guess that's
and
fair.
yeah, and honestly, it is kind of it's weird to say this, but it is kind of like Game of Thrones in that it's like a lot of
I get what you mean. I
disjointed-
do get what you mean by that. Yeah.
it's a lot of disjointed storylines that eventually all converge. And like Guardians of the Galaxy, that whole storyline, that's Daenerys being off on her own, not at all connected to the main cast of characters.
Arguably, that's Guardians of the Galaxy is also just the best storyline in general, especially now that they have Thor.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I'm really looking forward to Guardians 3.
Or
As my brother has been calling it, as Guardians of the Galaxy.
I actually like that a lot. That actually made me laugh. Wait.
Yeah.
By the way, this is going to be a tangent from this, but still talking about shows and stuff. Have you ever watched Disenchantment?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
It's really good.
I've watched it all the way through twice.
It is, in my opinion, I enjoy it more than Futurama right now. I really like it. It's really good.
I mean, I don't think it tops Futurama.
Well, it has one season
opinion.
right now, so I can't say it does. I can say that I have enjoyed it personally more, I think. Because I think it's coming out now, and I'm watching it like a show,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm really looking forward to the next 10 episodes of that show.
Yeah, September.
They come out.
Yeah.
September?
Yeah.
Awesome.
We're a month away, actually. I'm really excited. Really.
September's going to be such a great month. We're going to get Disenchantment. We're going to get football back.
And we're going to get football.
and hopefully the Brewers are in playoff position by then.
About to say, I think that's what you care about as well.
Yeah. So today is July 30th, which means tomorrow is the MLB trade deadline. And yeah, I'm actually kind of hoping that like during this podcast there will be some breaking news about the Brewers that I can
Really,
relate. Hopefully they do something. If they do nothing, which seems unlikely at this point, between now and the deadline tomorrow, if they do nothing, I feel like their season's just over. And it sucks because they're only a game back of the Cubs and Cardinals. But like their season would be over if they don't acquire pitching. There's no way they're gonna do anything without
more
some
depth.
better pitching. More depth, yeah. I mean, they lost 3 of their 5 starting pitchers in the last 5 games they played.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ah.
And it seems like 2 of them are going to be short-term injuries.
But one of them is perma?
No, not permanent, but he's probably going to be out until like very near the end of the season.
That's really unfortunate, actually. That's tragic.
And plus Brandon Woodruff, who's the one who's going to be out for a while, was actually pitching, I think, the best of anybody in the rotation, which is not saying a lot because our rotation's been terrible this year. But yeah, we need to get at least one good starting pitcher and probably some bullpen help too. And we only have a day left to do it. So come on, guys. And there's no secondary trade deadline either, which is interesting. I don't know if you are aware of how this works in baseball. Probably not, right?
Probably not. Yep. Oh.
So in past years, July 31st has been the non-waiver trade deadline, and then August 31st is the waiver trade deadline. So basically anybody that you acquire before August 31st is eligible to play on your playoff roster. And
all right.
the difference is if you acquire them in August, they have to clear waivers before you can complete the trade, which is a big restriction because teams can't trade very easily, but at least you could still, in theory, add some pieces. But this year, they've eliminated that second deadline. So basically, you have to have your playoff roster set by tomorrow. So that's interesting. And
yeah, that's a little weird, actually. Like,
yeah, I kind of like it, honestly. In theory, I like it. In practice, this year with the way the Brewers are, I wish they had that other trade deadline.
Because it would benefit you directly.
It would benefit my team quite a bit, but in theory, I actually like this. So we'll see how it goes this year and then moving forward.
Yeah.
But anyway, I imagine we'll talk more about the Brewers next time because, like I said, I feel like there's no way they're not going to make some move. And in fact, yesterday they actually traded for Jordan Lyles, which is not like a huge thing, but he was with the Brewers all of last year as a relief pitcher, and then this year he's been pitching for the Pirates primarily as a starter. And he hasn't been great, but at this point, the Brewers just need another arm because they have
only
none of them.
Yeah.
They don't have anybody who can put a baseball in the strike zone right now. So they kind of need that.
Yeah.
And somehow only a game back of the Cubs and Cardinals.
Is the division just weak this year?
Yeah, I think it is. Pretty much at the start of the year, the Cubs and Brewers jumped out ahead of everybody, and then they both started losing a lot of games and let everybody else catch up. And so now the Cardinals have actually passed the Brewers and they're tied with the Cubs, so they're one game ahead. And the Reds and Pirates had closed the gap quite a bit. And then in the last couple of weeks, they've kind of fallen back again, which works out because it now looks like they're sellers at the trade deadline. Whereas, July 1st, we really had no idea who was going to be buying and selling in this division.
All right.
So yeah, it's interesting, but we'll probably talk more about this later, probably on the next podcast.
That's fair enough. I do have something else to mention.
Sure, of course.
As you have your baseball, I have my league. League of Legends is how I've been paying attention to, specifically the European League, actually right now, especially because there's this crazy, I find just still mind-boggling, like, it's a roster update, I would say. Yeah, that's how you would say it, I guess. So, a team, imagine like this would make more sense if you like had an analogy linked to basketball. If like an entire team took all their starters and just put them on the bench, and the bench just was all promoted together. That's exactly what happened with a team in Europe called Misfits, which is really fitting considering they're all subs, that they all like are called Misfits. And it's been going so well that two of the players that were on the previously starting roster have already left the team. It is the most, I think, I don't know how to word it in a way that you would really understand other than that, because to me it's still mind-blowing that this is working as well as it is. I thought it was going to be better than the starting team, because the only reason why the starting team had any problems was because no one could engage, like at all. Like, they would get leads in the early game, and then they just would never fight because no one knew how to start a fight on their team. But then they have on their sub roster a guy named Hiva, and he like will die like 7-8 times a game, and like everyone will think that he's like trolling the entire time, but he'll just win people the game because he just goes in, and that's all he does. And that's all they needed. And their sub roster arguably has better players just because they're younger players who are, it's weird when you have, like two players that you think are like even skill, right? And one of them you're saying like, oh, he used to play on this team. He went to a championship. He has this like tenured career, and you're comparing him to a guy who's just fresh. You want to start the guy who's fresh, actually, because you want to get that guy experience because he has nowhere else to go but up. Whereas you know exactly who that other person is, right? Which is why I think starting basically an entire rookie roster is working out so well, is that everyone's just, they have all this synergy because this rookie roster has been together for like 8 months. And by then, you basically know what you are, right?
Yeah. I wonder if there's sort of a decline with esports like this, where like what I mean is I wonder if over time, like, you start to lose your edge playing competitive esports, even if you're still playing, the same number of hours.
You do know that like most people who play video games retire at 25, 24, 25. Like they literally can't keep up. Esports is incredibly hard to like have a tenured career in, because not only do you have to be really, really good and practice like 12 to 16 hours a day, like you have that work schedule is disgusting, and not everyone can do it, especially for a long period of time. But there's always new talent. If you have one bad split, no one wants you anymore. One bad split can ruin your entire career. And that is why there's only a few players that have been able to stay around. Like, the players on Misfits now are like, I think their average age, except for Hiva, who's like 23, is like under 20. Like, they're all younger than us. They have to be at least 17 because of international law, but it's incredibly, like I don't know the word of it. I think the oldest player is a guy in Korea. I think he's on Sandbox, which is one of the worst names for a team. His name's Joker. And I think he's 27 or 28.
And he's like one of the oldest players.
Yeah, 27, and he's the oldest player I think I've seen. Or it's X Smithy, who's like I think he's X Smithy and NA.
Yeah, and the reason I ask this is like, so in chess, right?
Yeah, you peak at 22, right?
Well, right at the super high, like super GM level, there's nobody at that level who's over the age of 30. At least I don't think. Let me look one.
I mean, your cognitive ability just decays, and once it starts decaying, it's really hard to stay up there.
Okay, I take that back. Hikaru Nakamura is 31. He's still considered a super GM, but
isn't he the Asian guy?
Well,
that's for America.
His name is Hikaru Nakamura, so
he plays for America, right? And he has a Red Bull sponsorship.
Yeah, he is American. I believe he's American born. If not, he lives in America.
Yeah, and I think he is. He sounds American born. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Where was he born? Early life. Okay, he was born in Japan, but he's American. Moved to America when he was when he was 2. So he's lived here his whole life. But anyway, yeah, it's like you peak in your early 20s in chess, and like most players don't retire until they're like in their 40s or 50s, but they're not the same player when they hit like 30, 35,
and no one expects you to be.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting that it's sort of the same the same trend in esports.
That makes sense, I feel, though.
And honestly, it's the same thing in like athletic sports too. You don't see many football players in their 30s. They're all in their 20s.
I think football is
with the exception of like
it's weird because the most cognitive position, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which is quarterback, has the oldest player base, which doesn't make a lot of sense, does it?
Well, it does make some sense.
It makes sense based on a physical ability and how much wear and tear your body takes compared to other roles, but it doesn't make sense if you just look at the mental game.
Well,
I don't think
that never made sense to me until I heard Tom Brady talk about it. And what he said is that it just takes players that many years to learn the game. So you look at a young player, a young quarterback coming into the league at 22, 23, whatever. According to what Tom Brady has said, even though he might have a higher ability to learn and think than a player who's older and past his mental prime, there's still just too much about the game that he hasn't learned yet for him to be on that level. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think so. I don't think they haven't learned enough about the game because they've been playing it for decades. And I think you should, when it comes to your cognitive ability about, I don't know, because I could argue that someone like Baker is going to be like my sample or whatever. I hope he's not just an outlier, but you see Patrick Mahomes and Baker Mayfield and all these young guys who they're just smart players who have an incredibly high ceiling because they're young as well. And when you have a high ceiling and your brain's firing on all cylinders, I think that's when you are at your best.
Yeah,
I don't think Patrick Mahomes will be as mechanically gifted 10 years from now, and I don't think he's going to be as smart. I think he's just going to be set in his ways, and his ways are just going to be just so happen to be incredibly good because he's practiced the right way to play the game for so long. Does that make sense? I think that's
Yeah,
why Tom Brady has such a high career, is that he knows how to there are like certain like things that he falls back onto, and they're always correct essentially. Like he just has played it for so long that like his floor is so high. Like that's what I
Right.
think age does, is that your floor becomes like just like it's set in stone above everyone else's.
Right. And, with Tom Brady, it's like early in his career, he could rely on sort of his body to bail him out when he made a mistake. Like he could use his athleticism, which, he was never a super athletic quarterback, but you know what I mean. But, now it's like he doesn't need that. And, his body can't necessarily do those things anymore, but he doesn't need to because cognitively he's like mastered the game in all of its aspects, and he doesn't make those kinds of mistakes very often.
Um. By the way, side note: best tangent we've had to talking about football ever. Just, I'm very proud. Anyway,
Okay.
I do believe that like cognitively he's just not as good as he used to be. It's just he's it's refined. That's what it is. Like his worst games are better than anyone else's worst games, but his
Yeah,
best games will not be the best.
I agree with that.
That's
Um,
and I think that's actually like if you can mitigate mistakes at that high of a level, you're gonna survive as a quarterback.
hmm
Cause that's, I mean, I say that, but then Fitzpatrick's had like a 15-year career or some shit.
yeah.
Harvard
Fitzpatrick is
graduate,
going to
by the
come
way.
up. Fitzpatrick is going to come up later when I do my predictions. um, but anyway, should we get into talking about the news?
Oh yeah, I'm ready now. Now that
Okay.
we've talked about
So,
Brady enough.
right, yeah. Um, so the biggest thing that's happened in the last month, at least as far as I can tell, the biggest thing from a football angle is that Tyreek Hill is not going to be facing any discipline from the league over allegedly beating his kid. Um, so he won't be suspended, and he's going to be able to play for the Chiefs this year. And honestly, my only take here, and I don't like. Okay, we were talking about this a little bit pre-podcast, and you said it's good for football from a pure angle, but like from a moral standpoint, you know, that's a whole nother issue, and I agree with that. But
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it's the whole innocent until proven guilty thing, and like they didn't have enough evidence to actually justify taking any action here. And all right, fine. But I don't know. Tyreek Hill is just he's one of those guys. I have a hard time rooting for him because of things like this. Like he is goddamn talented, but I have a hard time rooting for him. You know what I mean?
I have a very like hard time like the only time I've rooted for Tyreek Hill is when he's been on my fantasy team. Let's just say that.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's just my, I need to feel like a winner.
hmm Right. Um, I will say though, it's really good news for the Chiefs that they need him on their offense, and it is a huge blow to the Detroit Lions, who now
No.
with Tyreek Hill in the mix, they might start out 0-4 going into that Week 5 bye.
Don't no, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. All we're saying
Oh,
doesn't matter.
okay. You're right.
We're
I still believe. I still believe.
Dude, by the way, that day, do you want to have a viewing party where we both like meet up and watch the game together? Like it'll be a Sunday, and it'll be a Sunday afternoon. And I have a
possibly.
car, so I can just drive myself.
Yeah, we can talk about it.
As it
that would be
comes up,
fun.
yeah,
Though.
that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I will have my car in college, so I'll be able to drive.
Nice. Anyway, so yeah, Tyreek Hill. That's like I said. That's probably the biggest football news that's happened. The biggest football news that's happened in sort of my orbit is the Packers made a couple of moves. So first, they extended Dean Lowry, who's he's a defensive lineman, and when that happened, when they extended him, I was happy for it. Most non-Packers fans are probably like, "Who the hell's Dean Lowry?"
As am
but
I.
but he's been good over the last couple years. He won Defensive Player of the Week one week when he picked up a Jameis Winston fumble and ran it back for a touchdown. And that's really the only highlight play he's had over the last couple of years, but he's been an important player on the defensive front for us, just kind of rotating in. So I was glad that they extended him. But then the next day, they cut Mike Daniels, who has arguably been the best player on our defense over the last couple of years. And he's spent his whole career with the Packers, 7 years until now. So that was kind of a big surprise.
Derek, he's cut?
Yeah, they released him, and then he actually signed with the Detroit Lions.
Which is why they're going to beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, maybe they have hope of beating the Chiefs after all. So their defensive line actually looks kind of interesting now with Mike Daniels added into the mix. Because
they of cut course, Mike Daniels. Do they just have too many people, do you think?
I'm not really sure. Here's my kind of theory on why this happened. So the explanation that they've kind of given is that it's a money thing, and they did save some money by cutting him. But my thought is either they don't think he's going to fit into the scheme going forward, which doesn't really make a ton of sense because he was fine when he was when he was healthy last year in Mike Pettine's scheme. But the other thing, and what I think is more likely, is they're just trying to get rid of the quote unquote McCarthy guys, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to get rid of some
culture
of the
change. That's what it is.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
They want to make sure that their young coach is actually a leader. I think that would make a lot of sense to me, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not just Daniels. They didn't bring back Clay Matthews or Randall Cobb. Even if you go back to Jordy Nelson, you could consider that part of the same movement. So, and Clinton Dix getting traded mid-season last season. All
I
of
can
these
see
things
them filtering out. Yeah.
I think all of these moves are just about changing the culture. So it's definitely a surprise. But I still think our defense is going to be much improved over last year.
I sure hope
just
so.
With all the,
I sure hope you think that.
Made. Yeah.
Because last year was, I hope it's still like, probably this is going to be a juxtaposition of what we experienced last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Last year's defense was terrible, and in fact, it's been terrible for probably the last 5 years or more. But anyway, that was sort of the Packers news that's happened recently. And in fact, we were supposed to record this podcast last week initially, and I'm kind of glad that we didn't because the Mike Daniels thing happened, I think, the day after we were going to record. So it just kind of worked out. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to talk about it.
I actually
So
didn't
that
know
worked
it was
out.
like that.
So anyway, moving on to some sad news. The passing of Jared Lorenzen. I remember I texted you the minute I found out that it happened back on July 3rd.
Yes.
But yeah, we lost the hefty lefty.
I have no idea who he is, but I that's why I said hefty lefty. No, I was just kind of like, I don't know who this is actually.
You don't actually know who the okay.
Yeah. Now I've got you all in like.
That's okay. I mean, he didn't have like that significant of a career. The main thing he's known for is being very overweight while playing quarterback.
No, wait, that guy? No!
Backing up Eli
Wait!
Manning.
No!
Yeah.
I know I've seen footage of him. I know who he is.
He was like a fun storyline every preseason when he would get playing time. But of course, being Eli Manning's backup, he never got any actual like meaningful playing time because Eli Manning never misses games. But
he died young, right?
Yeah, he did. I'm not sure on the cause of death. I don't think it's been released. But yeah, he died young. Let me look up quick how old he is. I had all this information in my head, but I've forgotten it.
That's okay. I've forgotten many things.
Yeah. Okay, Jared Lorenzen. Yeah, he was only 38. So very sad. And let me just check quick. Oh, apparently it was the official cause of death is an acute infection complicated by heart and kidney problems. So not really sure what all that means, but
yeah, I don't think infections are very cute.
No.
That was a really bad joke. I'm sorry.
But anyway, yeah, he was an interesting player because like he was not good by any means. He was not a good quarterback, but he was just such a likable guy. And like let me see if it's listed here. It doesn't list it on his Wikipedia page.
Damn. What are you looking for?
Hang on.
All right.
Hang on.
I will find my seat, clutching onto it, clenching.
Okay, so here's just a couple of his nicknames that that people came up with over the years to describe him, because of course he's a left-handed quarterback who's overweight, so there's a lot to pick from. So
a little mean, but yeah, I know what you mean.
The one that is probably most common is the hefty lefty. Also the Pillsbury Throwboy, the Abominable Throwman.
The Abominable Throwman's actually really good. That's quality.
Yeah, most of these are not good, but the Round Mound of Touchdown is good.
A round mound of touchdown is.
But anyway, yeah, it's I mean, it's sad that he died young, and actually, like, post playing career, I think he actually like he got like really, really, really big, like super overweight, and then lost all the weight, and then like actually was in pretty good shape towards the end of his life, and then just died very suddenly, which really
scary,
sucks.
Yeah.
So yeah, we will definitely miss the hefty lefty. I will say, when I played Madden 08 when I was a kid,
yep.
Jared Lorenzen, of course, was in that game as the Giants' backup quarterback. And in franchise mode, after the first season, he would always be released and be a free agent. And I would always sign him because he was the worst player in the game, and I could sign him for like the minimum possible contract.
Priorities.
So, my plan, of course, was if my starting quarterback gets hurt, I'm just going to restart anyway. So I don't need a backup quarterback. Let's just get Jared Lorenzen. So he was always there. So rest in peace, Jared Lorenzen.
You'll be forever in my memories.
Yeah.
Watch.
So on a happier note, Darren Sproles, my favorite non-Packer player of all time, is coming back to play another year of football.
One more year.
He had said 2 years ago that it was going to be his last year. But then he got knocked out with an injury early. In fact, I think he broke his arm and tore his ACL on the same play, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I remember
And
something like that.
the Eagles, of course, went on to win the Super Bowl that year without him. And he then said last year he was going to come back. He wanted to go out on top. Got hurt again, missed most of the season. So he's going to be back again this year for the Eagles. Very, very crowded backfield, but I have no doubt that Darren Sproles will get his share of touches if he's healthy. So yeah, I'm really happy for Sproles. The NFL is a better place with Darren Sproles in it.
Objectively, a fact.
Yeah. So I'm happy about that. And I mean, we have the Eagles predicted to be good, so they're going to be a fun team to watch if we're correct about that.
Now they are good. No, this is why.
Yeah, this is the reason. So yeah. Happy for Darren Sproles. Also in the NFC East, the Dallas Cowboys are bringing back Alfred Morris, the running back who has filled in for them for Ezekiel Elliott in the past. And they are bringing him in because Zeke, as you probably know, is in the middle of a potentially long holdout. And they're not sure about his availability going forward. So, yeah, that's definitely a situation to monitor. Nothing really known as of yet. Last I heard, Zeke is in Mexico working out at his agent's house or something.
What?
Yeah.
What? Wait, what?
Yeah.
Sorry, could you repeat that? I don't think I heard that right. I heard something about Mexico and working out.
Ezekiel Elliott's agent apparently has a house in Mexico.
Okay, no, I did write that out.
and Zeke is there working out because he doesn't want to report to the Cowboys. So obviously a situation to keep an eye on, but we don't really know anything yet. So moving on, and some good news and some bad news for the Cincinnati Bengals and their wide receiver group. So first piece of good news is they extended Tyler Boyd. So
Boyd is a good.
They locked him down long term. I know you really like Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He has a good solid. So I think Bengals are criminally underrated in that part of their game. They have three really good, really good players.
They have a good wide receiver group, but unfortunately that group took a hit with AJ Green going down in practice.
That's irrelevant. It never happened.
He tore some ligaments apparently in his ankle, and he's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks is the estimate. But with the way these things go, it could end up being longer than that. He's definitely going to miss part of the season, the first part. And
it's just fake news. Don't worry about it.
Who knows at what point he'll actually get back. So that's obviously a huge blow. I mean, he is the best player on their roster. And to lose him before the season starts is very difficult. Hopefully he can get back quickly. So that's definitely bad news, but the good news is he could be back. before too long. But then more bad news is John Ross, another Bengals receiver, injured his hamstring and could miss a couple weeks. So he's not in
John Ross
jeopardy.
got hurt?
He's not in jeopardy of missing any of the regular season, but he is battling a lingering hamstring issue. So again, like for a guy whose game is built on speed, hamstring issues are something to be concerned about.
Yeah. About to say,
Um,
that's
So yeah, their wide receiver group is definitely hurting right now.
dwindling, one might say.
Um, Not as bad as the Giants receivers though. Um, they've suffered a lot of injuries already. Um, I don't remember all the details of that. I know that Sterling Shepard, who was slated to be their number one, is going to be all right, but I think he's dealing with a thumb thing. Um, and yeah, they've already lost a couple of people in their wide receiver group besides just Odell Beckham. Um, and on top of that, Golden Tate, who they signed shortly after trading Beckham, is going to be suspended for the first 4 games of the season.
Oh, great.
Kind of a weird situation. Apparently, he's going to appeal this, but like it was a PED thing or a banned substance situation, but apparently it was a drug that he had been given for fertility reasons. Apparently, he and his wife were trying to have a kid, and some drug that he was given turned out to have a banned substance in it, and that's why he failed a drug test. So he's going to appeal the suspension. We'll see what happens. It might get reduced. Who knows? But as of right now, he's going to miss the first 4 games.
Curious. That's very curious.
Yeah, that's
one
one
of
just the weirder
that's like, oh, fertility. Wait a minute.
That's like the who was the guy? I think there was a Bills player. I can't remember who it was. Who like he showed up to training camp overweight a couple years ago, and he blamed it on his girlfriend being pregnant. And I don't remember the whole situation, but it was just a really bizarre thing. I don't know.
That sounds, to say
Yeah.
the least, I don't I don't know how else to describe that, but yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, so moving on.
Fertility reasons. Just imagining like a wide receiver pregnant running down the field. Going into labor.
Yeah, would that be considered an excessive celebration? Like if you
That's terrible. You're
yes,
ashamed. Not allowed to laugh at that. No, it's bad. You can't say that.
Anyway, moving on. There's a bunch of contract extensions to talk about. So the Seahawks extended Bobby Wagner for 3 years, so good for them. The Falcons extended both Deion Jones and Grady Jarrett, 2 very important players on that defense, which I have a prediction about from the past. That what exactly did I predict? Let me look it up.
Good question. I don't remember.
I remember I predicted something with the Falcons. Here we
Weren't
go.
they like?
Oh yeah, I predicted they would have a top 5 defense this year. So definitely good that they're locking down 2 of their important starters on that defense. The Tennessee Titans have made Kevin Byard the highest paid safety in the NFL. They signed him to a 5-year, $70.5 million extension. So nice, I guess.
Good for him.
For the Titans.
Get your money.
Good for him. Yeah, good for the Titans. And the 49ers are up next. So they actually extended Robbie Gould or Gould, I guess is his name. Robbie Gould. Sorry. It's spelled Gould, and it always throws me off. Um, but anyway, there was some talk that he wasn't going to report to 49ers camp, and he was trying to get traded out of there, but apparently
that's been resolved.
Apparently they resolved that. So he is going to be kicking footballs for the 49ers, which great. All I can say is 14-2 confirmed.
We can go home now. It's guaranteed.
Yep. So yeah, and then a couple more extensions. The Rams extended both Sean McVay and Les Snead, their GM, through the 2023 season. So this was kind of a no-brainer move. Keeping your head coach and GM around when things are going well, obviously.
Yeah.
So great. And then the Steelers gave Mike Tomlin a 1-year extension, their head coach. So again, great. So yeah, that's all the extensions for right now. Actually, I might have one more later. No, I guess I don't. Okay. So yeah, a bunch of contract extensions. Any thoughts on any of those before we move on?
Not a lot. Not gonna lie, I don't have a lot of thoughts, opinions about the contracts at hand. It's
Yeah,
just
I mean, I
good for
figured
them. They get their money. Yay.
I figured you wouldn't. That's why I kind of flew through it.
Yeah.
So anyway, moving on. And okay, this one is kind of funny because I think you have a prediction that relates. But Richie Incognito, the Raiders offensive lineman, has been suspended for the first 2 games of the season. Now, your prediction specifically was that a Raiders player will intentionally injure another Raiders player and knock them out for the season.
Yes.
But we decided that we would accept anything that was even close. Now this incident was not close to that.
You got my hopes up.
Yeah, it's but okay, it is a really weird story because apparently he was arrested and charged with disorderly conduct. And would you like to guess where he was when he was charged with disorderly conduct?
If I were to guess,
Like you'd be thinking like, okay, maybe he's in a bar or like outside a bar, you know? Like that's the logical place, but it's not that.
practice?
No, that's another logical guess. But no, he was actually in a funeral home.
Oh fuck! What?
Yeah. So apparently, and tragically, his father passed away. I think this was a couple months ago. So, understandably difficult time for him and his family, but apparently he was in a funeral home and he got very upset for some reason and he started just punching caskets, empty caskets, and and it's a good thing they were empty because otherwise this would be a lot worse. And apparently he was shouting about wanting to cut off his dad's head and keep it or something.
Okay.
Which is very weird.
Which is very I don't believe that is a normal thing to do.
So yeah, from what I read, it wasn't like officially stated anywhere, but I'm guessing alcohol was a factor. But anyway,
I would assume that's a logical guess.
So given that and his past behavior issues, he's been suspended for 2 games to start the season. So an inauspicious start for the new Raiders regime, I suppose, with John Gruden.
It is only fitting.
John Gruden and his cast of character issues.
You're a couple of misfits.
Yeah. So anyway, moving on then. Um, Another suspension. Jets tight end Chris Herndon has been suspended 4 games for violating the substance abuse policy, and this is stemming from a DUI incident. Um, so he got a DUI, and now he's got a suspension on top of that. So that sucks. But we still expect the Jets to be good.
Yeah.
Um, so moving on, Glover Quinn, the longtime safety for the Lions, most recently has announced his retirement. Um, so good for him. He was never like one of the top players at the position, I don't think, but he was always like pretty good, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and having followed the NFC North closely for many years, I'm familiar with Glover Quinn. He was like I said, he was always just a very good defensive back. Not great, but very good. So nice job on a solid career, Glover Quinn. So, and I know we're just like plodding through all the boring items now. So next up is the Cardinals releasing Robert Kimdiche, the former first round pick. Um, Apparently he showed up to camp out of shape, and so now he has been released by the Cardinals. Um,
Who showed up out
so
of shape?
Robert Kimdiche,
I actually don't know who that is.
yeah, former first round pick by the Cardinals. He's had a very disappointing career. He's been injured for most of it. Um, Defensive lineman, never amounted to much. He's had a lot of off the field issues. He famously fell out of a window in college. Um,
If that's your claim to fame, you might not be a good
yeah,
football player.
yeah. So they took a chance on him, and it ended up being a swing and a miss. So he has been cut by the Cardinals. We'll see if he catches on anywhere. And another guy who has been cut, but did catch on somewhere already, is Alan Hurns. And I really only bring this up because he's an ex-Jag. Um,
Yeah, the wide
but
receiver.
yep, Alan Hurns. He spent last year with Dallas. Didn't make much of an impact, especially once they traded for Amari Cooper. But yeah, he suffered a nasty injury in the wild card game against the Seahawks. Um, he broke his fibula, and he's working his way back from that injury still. But in the meantime, the Cowboys cut him, and he has now signed with Miami. So he is back in the state of Florida.
Unfortunately, on that one. Oh man.
Yeah, he was a good player with the Jags. I had him in fantasy the really good year that offense had when their team was terrible, but their offense was really good.
Yeah. The 4-12 year where like Bortles had 1,000,000 yards.
Yep, yeah, that one. Um, I had Hurns that year, and that was a very nice season that he put together. But he hasn't really been the same player since. So we'll see if he makes an impact in Miami. He's still probably fighting for a roster spot, but like I said, I brought him up because he's an ex-Jag. Um, so moving on, almost done with the news. We already talked about Golden Tate. Um, so if you remember from a couple thumbnails ago, Brian Gain got fired by the Texans, the Texans GM, and he has now uh, been hired by the Bills to be their senior personnel advisor, whatever that means. So he has a job again, Brian Gain. So
Good for
good
him.
for him. He
Yeah.
landed on his feet. Um, and then lastly, in the news, and this is just a situation to monitor going forward, but the Chargers and Melvin Gordon seem to be at somewhat of an impasse in contract talks. Um, and it looks like this could be a rather lengthy holdout for Melvin Gordon. And who knows if he'll even be back by the start of the season. Worst case scenario, of course, could be a Le'Veon Bell situation like last year. I'm thinking that the Chargers will avoid it. Eventually, I think they'll just give him his money. Uh, but
Yeah.
yeah, definitely a situation to watch. Um, and obviously, I love Melvin Gordon, the former Wisconsin running back. Um, Still have fond memories of him playing with Russell Wilson. So, yeah, we'll keep an eye on Melvin Gordon and the Chargers and that contract situation. But that's all that I have for the news. So, do you have anything that you want to talk about?
News related. Um, I really haven't I just haven't heard of so any of these things really. Nothing
Okay.
shows up on my timeline and no news is really discussed.
Okay.
The only big things really that I guess we haven't mentioned once, and it's mostly because I don't care, is the basketball, crazy debacle that happened earlier,
Mm,
And
yeah.
that was it. That's all the sports news has really been showing up.
Mm-hmm.
That and obviously Fortnite, I guess. Like the fact that like a 16-year-old just won $3.7 million.
Okay.
There is a couple of videos I saw of like this 13-year-old kid who got like third or something. Came home to his father from like Argentina. Like he went to America to like compete, and then he came back on his flight from Argentina, and he met his dad, right? And like the video is just like really like, oh god, their whole entire family's set for life now, and it's just wholesome, and I love it. Like a little 13-year-old, just like imagine that. That's just so.
Yeah. Neat. So, anyway, uh, by the way, I first of all I hate Fortnite.
It's all
But
right.
I've never played it. I've watched my little brother play it.
I think it's
Um,
fine.
it's I don't know.
It's fun for people. Let them have fun.
the The only thing that I enjoy about it is how bad my brother is at it. Um, and like, granted, he's better than I would be if I picked up the controller, but he's really bad at it. Um, and also he got killed one time by a person with the username Imagine Wagons, which I thought was just really clever. So
Mm-hmm.
really no reaction to Imagine Wagons. All right.
And
Um,
Imagine Wagons? Nah.
okay. Anyway, so yeah, and I don't really want to comment on the NBA situation right now. A lot of interesting offseason moves going on around the Bucks, but I don't really want to get into all that right now. Um, so anyway, should we get on to predictions?
Yeah. Which I'm
Now,
still in just an idiot about.
okay.
Yeah. I can't
So
remember for the life of me. Maybe it was about Mitch Trubisky or something.
okay.
Oh, what? I remember one of them now.
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
I'll go first then. So my first prediction, and I mentioned that Ryan Fitzpatrick would come up, so here it is. Now I noticed on Pro Football Reference that they track a stat for both individual quarterbacks and for teams, which is interception percentage. In other words, the percentage of the passes that you throw that get intercepted, and the last year Ryan Fitzpatrick was number one or last, depending on how you want to look at it, in interception percentage. meaning he had the highest percentage of passes intercepted by like a wide margin too.
Yeah.
And also in the top 5 was Josh Rosen, the rookie quarterback for the Cardinals, who has now been traded to the Dolphins. So my prediction is that the Dolphins will have the highest team interception percentage in 2019. And that's just sort of connecting the dots because they have two quarterbacks that like to throw a lot of interception.
You see, the problem with that is one of those is a young quarterback who should theoretically, in theory, have his interception percentage go down over time.
Okay, in theory, yes. However,
but also the problem with this is that both quarterbacks can't throw the same ball in the same play.
Okay, but it's percentage. Right. So it's just percentage of passes thrown that get intercepted.
I guess, but it's still going to just be like.
So last year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were actually the worst, like the highest interception percentage as a team. And Fitzpatrick started, I think, less than half of their games. But he just like tanked their percentage so much. And Winston was not great either when he played. But
yeah, that helps as well.
That helps. So that's just sort of connecting the dots. And, obviously it's bold because if you take the field here, you're probably right. Some other team is probably going to have a worse interception percentage than the Dolphins, but
I mean, if we were going to pick a team.
Right, exactly. If we're going to pick a team, it's probably the Dolphins. But like you never know. If one of my other predictions comes true with the Bengals starting at least 3 different quarterbacks or whatever that prediction was, they could easily be number 1. So anyway, that's my first prediction. So, any thoughts on that before we move on to yours?
I think if I was gonna pick a team, I guess. Like, I'm trying to think, like, who else would be up there? No, yeah, if you were gonna pick a team, actually, the Ravens could be a one where if they really just not fumble, I guess, intercept, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if just everything goes to hell, the Ravens could be bad, but I don't know who else I would pick. I think that's a good prediction. I'll give that an A. Give that an A-.
All right.
Give that an A-. It's fresh, unique. I didn't expect it. Nice. All right. Now, Mitch Trubisky, right?
Okay.
It was a Mitch Trubisky thing, yes. If have you looked at the stats between these two players, Dak Prescott and Mitch Trubisky?
I have not.
Well, the specific stat that I'm looking for.
I will say though, I consider Dak Prescott and Mitch Trubisky both basically the same guy.
No, there's a very clear difference, and the difference is that if you take first, second, and third quarter, Dak Prescott beats Mitch Trubisky in all stat lines by a wide margin.
Mm-hmm.
The fourth quarter, however, Mitch Trubisky, especially when he's behind, has one of the highest QB ratings and stat lines of any player in the league. He is one of the most clutch players in the world. The second he turns on his brain, it's bad. The second he uses instincts, oh my God. Just, this guy needs to shut his brain off, and he's perfect.
That's interesting.
He's amazingly good when he's not thinking about what he's doing. If he just...
He's got sort of a Stafford thing going on.
Whenever he tries to like close a game out, he's really bad. Like, he can't close a game off when he's ahead. He needs to be playing from behind and just win the game. Did you remember though? It was literally just a missed field goal, but like, if you really think about it, that was 40. Like, he took 40 seconds at the end of the game to drive them down the field.
Yeah,
and it took him like 3 passes. It was a
very impressive drive. The Eagles should not have won the game.
But the thing is, that isn't. That isn't new for him.
No.
That's what he like. That wasn't like something that's what he had been doing all season. The exact way he played there has been how he's played in general, which is why it was just so weird, you know. So my prediction is Mitch Trubisky will have a longer and more championed tenure in the NFL than Dak Prescott. And I believe that he will be a Super Bowl winner in the next 10 years. I truly believe like this guy has the potential to win as long as you build around him. Like really easy. Like that's a really bad way of wording because like you can say that about me or any person on the planet.
I suppose.
If you have the best player in every position except for this player, you can win. But no.
Well, that's been the Jaguars model for years.
Shut up. But
okay.
That's what I'm.
So Trubisky will have a longer and more successful career than Prescott.
Yes.
That's a very long-ranging prediction. You have some real faith in this podcast being around for a long time.
You know what? I'm gonna go one deeper. All right.
Okay.
I'm gonna double down on this one. This season, Mitchell Trubisky will be above a top 10 QB rating Dak Prescott.
Wait, what?
I'm saying that Dak Prescott will be in the top 10 with QB ratings this season, and Mitchell Trubisky will be above him.
I see.
Because I don't think Prescott's bad. And especially with QB rating, I don't think he's bad at all. But I do believe that like Trubisky will finally get, his shit together.
Okay, we'll make that a separate prediction. So we'll say Trubisky and Trubisky I wrote will both finish in the top 10 of QBR, and Trubisky will be higher. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. I think Mitchell Trubisky is oddly a great quarterback if he just turns his brain off. Like it's funny. He'll run the exact same play, right? In like the second quarter as he did in the fourth quarter. In the second quarter, it will fail miserably, and he'll just miss his read. But in the fourth quarter, when he's down by like 14 because he threw some interceptions, right? He'll just start like hitting dimes out of nowhere.
Okay. Interesting. All right, so you managed to stretch that into two predictions. Did you want to make a third prediction that Mitchell Trubisky will win a Super Bowl in the next 10 years? Because that was something you said, too, that I didn't include here.
Nah.
Okay, we'll just leave that out.
Nah. The more you think that it's like, I quit while I'm ahead.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm ahead.
We'll find out, I suppose. So, okay, my other prediction then. Now, last time I was talking about wide receiver duos, right? If you recall, and I had done a lot of research on this, and I had ultimately decided to predict that the Lions will have the top wide receiver duo in yards in the NFL this year. So I did a little bit more digging.
All right.
Not much. Not much. And honestly, this one is more of a gut feeling than anything else. But I've decided that my next prediction will be that Marquez Valdez-Scantling, right? Now, there has been a lot of hype around MVS, at least in Packers circles, there has. And quite honestly, I'm excited to see what this offense is, and if Scantling can really be a number 2 receiver behind Devontae Adams. So my prediction is that he will be legit, and he will have more yards than any other team's number 2 wide receiver this year.
Oh my god! So Scatling is the number 2 guy.
That's what I'm assuming in this prediction, yes. And right now in camp, it looks like he's ahead of the rest to be the number 2.
Scatling. He'll have.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Every other, he'll have more yards than every other one. Every other wide receiver too.
Mm-hmm.
In league. Who does he have to play against then? Who does he really realistically have as competition in that department then? I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like with AJ Green now being hurt, the Bengals are kind of out of the mix. Maybe in theory, but like he could, I don't know. It would be interesting to just do a straight up comparison between him and Randall Cobb. Now that Cobb is the number 2 in Dallas. But yeah, like I don't know, whoever's behind Antonio Brown in Oakland, or like whoever the number 2 is in LA with the Rams in that offense. But yeah, my point is he'll have more yards than any other team's number 2.
All right. Well, I'm just like I'm really trying to think. Other wide receiver 2s. You know?
Yeah.
It's not like I don't have them all memorized in my head.
There's not like a really super. Oh, I guess Will Fuller is one that could probably
yeah.
challenge.
You're saying he'll be better than that.
Yep. But yeah, that's my prediction. Jarvis Landry, I guess.
Oh, yeah, but I don't think he'll have. He'll have. I think he'll get 800 to 1,000, something like that.
Yeah, he's not typically a yard compiler anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, that's that prediction.
Nice. I actually think that is I just can't think of anyone who would contest him on that. That's actually.
Yeah, it has a decent chance. Like if Valdez-Scantling does end up being the number 2 for the Packers, which at this point it looks like he will, but who really knows?
Yeah, that's like one thing. That'd be really tragic if he's like.
If he ends up being like the 4th wide receiver behind,
or even
Geronimo
wide receiver
Allison.
1, like Devonta Adams, just gets hurt. That'd be the worst. That would be the darkest timeline.
Well, actually, my prediction could still come true then, because my specific wording is that he will have more yards than any team's number 2.
Yeah, but then it wouldn't be as impressive. It's
That's
like, yeah,
true.
you got right, but like.
That's true, but I would still be right. And that's what really counts. But okay. Also, I saw on Twitter the other day, and like normally I hate when people like tweet negative things about the Packers, but this was really funny. There was a picture that the Packers official account tweeted that was like, it was Aaron Rodgers and Valdez-Scantling, and they tweeted 1283 for 12 and 83, their numbers, their jersey numbers. And people were replying, and I just looked at some of the replies, and like there were a lot of Packers fans being like, "Yeah, super excited about Valdez-Scantling, et cetera, et cetera." And then there was this one person with their icon was a Bears logo, and they just tweeted, "Don't forget about the numbers 7 and 9, which is going to be your record this year."
Oh shit!
And I really thought that was funny.
That was clever.
That was really good.
Don't forget the number 7. That's actually
That was really funny. So even though it's it's a Bears fan making a joke at the expense of the Packers, I found it really funny.
fair.
So anyway, okay. So anything else to add? Do you have any more predictions that you can remember?
No.
Okay. All right, perfect. So I guess we move on from our prediction segment to the next thing, which is check my phone and see if the Brewers have traded for anybody, which they have not. Okay, so music discussion.
Now it is time to discuss the two highly sought after albums.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah.
One is so highly sought after that I can't even remember what it was.
What do you mean, Come Clean's Puddle of Mud?
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's what I recommended. Puddle of Mud's Come Clean.
No, Come Clean's Puddle of Mud. What do you mean?
Right.
All right.
Yeah,
and
so...
Benji, Sun Kill Moon's Benji. I almost did it again, but accidentally this time.
Right.
All right.
Okay. So would you like to begin? I know you didn't like this, so...
just let it...
Just go ahead.
All right. The problem that I have just fundamentally with a band like Puddle of Mud is that it's one thing to wear your influences on your sleeve. It's one thing to have influences like everyone does. It's another thing to be a blatant like copycat and just butchering the entire like. A lot of post grunge has this problem of just being like an exact carbon copy of the original, except cleaner, more with less gritty production, and just worse songwriting. So I don't get the appeal.
Okay.
That's why I just don't get the appeal. It wasn't really enjoyable to listen to, and I would highly recommend not listening to it again.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so anything else to add, or do you want me to...
I don't want to talk about Come Clean anymore. I'm sorry.
Okay. So moving on then to Benji. So another really super sad album.
It's not the happiest thing in the world. It's not
more dead kids.
It's not super sad. I mean, there were some songs about dead kids, I guess. Newtown. Talking. It's I mean, Mark's kind of a weird guy. I think the song Dog, like, just preface, Dogs, that song, you know, about like, wow, we're all people. Isn't it weird that we all like the fuck? Like,
yeah.
I get some songs like that where it's just like, ugh. Man.
Yeah. I mean, I found this album entertaining, but again, super, super sad at times.
Carissa is one of my favorite songs, but so I can see where you're coming from with that.
Like I said, it was a good song. Carissa, I'm talking about. It was a good song, but very sad. And like, there's nothing wrong with sad songs, but you just seem to recommend them a lot.
I tend to. I don't know why I have so many like sad bands. I don't know, like, and like they just get very like, oh Jesus Christ. I don't know. I think the emotional impact of sad music just gets like, I think it's stronger. But there are also like happy songs of the album, like I Can't Live Without My Mother's Love. Just a song about his mom and how much he loves her.
Right, and then you've got like a song about Newtown, a song about the guy who mercy killed his wife, a song about a an autistic girl who gets taken advantage of.
All right. Now, I see what you're saying, right? But Ben is my friend.
Uh-huh.
And he loves his dad. Like, come on. Loves his mom, loves his dad, has a friend named Ben. It's a happy album.
Now, if I recall, wasn't Ben the one who had the aneurysm or something?
No. That I know what song you're talking about. I think that is Micheline, and in the second part of the song, it's talking about that friend that could play guitar and then just had an aneurysm by playing it wrong and then died.
Right.
Which is like, I laughed the first time because like that's just kind of ridiculous. Like, you know, like you don't think that like playing guitar is gonna kill you like that.
Yeah. But then again, you're not Dimebag Daryl.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Sorry. He's just the only person who I can think of who died playing guitar. And that's because he was shot. But anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of sad songs, some happy songs. Overall, it was a good album, I think. I liked it.
What did you like? Did you like that like singer-songwriter like just tells you stories, hype music?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's not like the kind of stuff I normally listen to, but I like it on occasion, you know.
Yeah. What would you say was your favorite track if you remember from your listen?
I don't know. They all kind of sounded very, very similar. Like, you know what I mean? Like the whole album, like musically they're different, but like it was all kind of the same thing. It almost kind of felt like the whole album was one big story, which was interesting.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
He's a folky singer-songwriter, just kind of sits down and's like, this is my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sad, but now I'm happy. I love my mom.
Yeah. I don't know if I have a particular favorite on the album.
I don't know. Carissa really gets to me. I love Carissa. That song is very sad.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So anyway, should we move on to next time's?
Sure. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Okay. So do you know what? Actually, I'll go first this time in recommending my album. So I knew that you weren't going to like Come Clean based on your comments from last time when I first recommended it. So I kind of went back to the vein of Screaming for Vengeance, which was the one that you liked. And in fact, I picked an album from the same year, also released in 1982, same year as Screaming for Vengeance. The album is The Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden's Number of the Beast. Beast. I typed in beat.
Beast. Number of the Beat is Dwight Schrute's parody album.
What?
Did you not get that joke? Because I thought it was pretty good.
I wish I got that joke.
You never watched The Office?
Oh, now I would get it. Now I get it.
Now you get it?
I don't know. You said Dwight Schrute, and the thought that came into my mind was, what's his butt? He was on America's Got Talent. The guy with the radio show.
No idea.
Really? Thought that was enough information. I don't know why.
I've never watched America's Got Talent. I've seen like a couple episodes. The guy with the radio show?
Yeah, and the New York radio show. Is it Howard Stern?
Oh, Howard Stern. Okay, I know who he is. How do you get Howard Stern from Dwight Schrute?
That's a very good question. One that I can't answer at this moment. Now, I'm about to recommend you an album that I know you're gonna hate. Everyone that I try to get to listen to this hates this fucking thing, but it's only 20 minutes, so god damn it, you're gonna listen to it.
All right.
It's called 1,000 Gex by 100 Gex.
What? What the fuck is this? Okay.
I'm not joking. Like GEC. That's like just the name. And they're amazing. I don't care what anyone says. I think they're fantastic. It was released this year. I have to tell you right now, just preface right now. This is gonna be weird. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah, it better be with a name like 1,000 Gex.
It is incredibly auto-tuned. Oh my god. Like, at first, you're gonna be like, this sounds terrible. But just give it a chance. Just like, at first, it's gonna be really abrasive. Really, like, hard-hitting. But god damn it. It's so good. And, like, once you get, like... I have to just kind of say, like, oh god, you're gonna listen to Money Machine and wonder what the fuck I made you listen to. I swear to God. There's a ska track on this, an auto-tune to shit ska track.
I will listen to it because I am forced to.
It's good. I swear it's good.
All right.
I've listened to this too many times. So many times. My brother hates me.
Okay. Well, all right. Cool. So, all right. Any closing remarks?
Yeah. Everyone listen to 1,000 Gex, 100 Gex, all the Gex, Gek. There is a song called Gek, by the way.
Okay.
You're good.
I am so
frightened, terrified,
disappointed. Like, I'm disappointed in advance.
It's 7:45 in the morning, yeah.
Boy.
The one thing I will close is I will read you the lyrics to one of my favorite songs on the album, just to start it.
Okay.
I won't even sing it. I'll just read it. All right. We're gonna read off the first verse. Hey you, little piss baby. You think you're so fucking cool, huh? You think you're so fucking tough? You talk a lot of big game for someone with such a small truck. Oh, look at those little arms. Your arms are so fucking cute. They look like little cigarettes. I bet I could smoke you. I could roast you. And then you'd love it and you'd text me I love you. And then I'd fucking ghost you. Just saying. If that doesn't sound amazing, I don't know what can.
All right. Oh, okay. Okay. You said this album is 20 minutes long?
20 minutes. 22 maybe.
Okay. Well, that's an amount of time. All right.
And I probably listened to it over 30 times, and it was released in 2 months ago. That was not how you say that sentence.
No. I will give you that those were all words. All right. So,
all right.
Anything else to say about anything? It's good to be back doing this podcast.
It's very good. I feel great. Yeah. I've never felt better recommending 1,000 Gex.
Okay. So yesterday, by the way, when you when you tweeted the thing,
yes, the
whatever you did,
the album,
we had a brief Twitter interaction, and you had said, like, what was it? You were like, you said reply to this, and I'll
Like
send you an
an
album
album
cover.
that I think of the second that you
Right,
basically. Yeah. The first
Right,
album that
so
pops
I-
into my head. Just
So I replied to that, and then you responded with Nevermind, and I was like, okay, fine. That makes sense. It is my favorite album.
yes.
But I was kind of expecting you to do like either Chameleon Circuit, because
That was
Chameleon
that
Circuit,
was up there. That was one of the albums that I did think of immediately, but it
Or,
wasn't as soon.
or I expected you to do one of the ones that I recommended to you that you really hated.
No. I don't think I try not to think of those albums sometimes. Like Screaming
Right.
for Vengeance. Yeah, that's a good release. Good release. That's the other one. That's one of the like, ones where I'm like, yes, this is very good. I remember
right.
Simon and Garfunkel one, I guess. Try to forget
Well,
about the other ones as much as I can.
You'll probably like The Number of the Beast if you liked Screaming for Vengeance. Have you listened to it before?
Yeah, I really like these
Okay.
these classic '80s like heavy metal bands. They're great. I mean, they're a good ass time. I think they have pretty nice songwriting, and their production is like it's raw, it's energetic. I like it. Yeah.
All right. I was torn on which Iron Maiden album to recommend. I wanted to do Somewhere in Time, simply because I loved the song Alexander the Great, but I felt like the rest of the album was not as strong as Number of the Beast, so I went with this one.
Fair enough. Have you listened to Paranoia by Black Sabbath, by the way? Paranoid by Black Sabbath?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's my favorite of all these, by the way. Just saying.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
That is a classic.
I think I made Patrick listen to Iron Man. But yeah, okay.
Right.
I don't know. I tried to get Patrick to listen to some metal at one point.
Yeah, he's probably the last person to want to listen to anything.
I'm trying to think. I know I included Iron Man. That was the only Sabbath song though that I included.
Imagine him listening to Tool, like.
Yeah. Tool.
Don't know what that's supposed to mean, but.
Well, do you remember when you were wearing it was one of the first times you ever came to our chess club, and you were wearing a Tool shirt?
Yes,
and,
I had to.
And Devin, who was there at the time, I forget exactly what he said, but he like assigned you the nickname Tool because you had the Tool shirt.
It's like, I bet.
And we're like, that was just like a really funny, I don't know.
Yeah.
For me, that was just a funny association with the band Tool.
It's not been, I mean, for me, that's not the first time that's ever happened to me where someone said, your name's now Tool. I'm like, okay. So, to me, it was only to be expected, a matter of time, if that.
Well, anyway, we should probably.
I believe yes,
this
it
up.
is. This has been concluding a podcast with Ryan and Bryce.
Yeah. So I'm Captain America. Bucky. Now, Bryce, you have to say, who the hell is Bucky? No, okay.
I would. Might.
Okay, it's fine. Just we're done. We're done.
We're done. We butchered it.